And you might say, well, we've ruled out, we've assured vaccines are safe because of, we robustly studied them before licensure, right? How many times have you already heard that claim? Let's take a look at that claim quickly. And I will tell you, as a firm, we want good clinical trials for vaccines. And a parent calls and says, my kid got a Hep B vaccine, grand mal seizure within 10 minutes, and then where are we going to start to prove causation? You need a prospective study. We want good clinical trial data. So this is where we would start. Next slide, please. Next slide. Remember I told you I'll tell you the impact of that immunity on clinical trials? Well, here it is. What you see right there is the 4 highest selling drugs by Pfizer, according to Money Inc. That is the clinical trials relied upon to license each of those products. They had safety periods of years against a placebo control for Enbrel, Eliquis, Lyrica, Lipitor, common drugs you all know about. Why? Why did the pharma companies do long-term placebo-controlled trials? Do you think it's because they're altruistic or moral or ethical? They're publicly traded companies. They do it because they're trying to maximize profits. If they put a product out that's going to harm a lot of people, what will that do in terms of profitability of the product? They could end up upside down. So they have an economic incentive to assure the safety of their products to a certain degree beforehand. Anybody here have a retirement account? Anybody? Yeah, a few people. Which way do you want your stock in those retirement accounts to go? Up or down? Let's go up. Where does Wall Street want it to go? Where do the investors want it to go? Where does the CEO want it to go? Where does everybody in that company up and down the chain, right? It's nothing nefarious about it. It's just capitalism. It's good. It works typically pretty well because what it means is that everybody has an incentive. When they put that drug out, they want to make sure they're at least going to get more revenue than they have to pay out in harm. It doesn't mean, in fact, the product doesn't cause harm. It just means they want to make sure that it's going to, they'll make more, right? So it can only cause so much harm. So they want to know the safety profile before they release it on the market and potentially are exposed to God knows what kind of liability, okay? That's just good business. Next slide, please. These are the clinical trials relied upon to license each of these childhood vaccines given injected 3 times each by 6 months of age. Typically days or weeks and no placebo control. Those numbers look unbelievable, right? Well, if I just saw that, I would not believe it either. Just as your Surgeon General just said to you, that seems crazy. Doesn't seem real. Well, let's take a look at what the underlying data and FDA documents show. Next slide, please. So this is the package insert for Combavax HB. That's one of only 2 Hep B vaccines administered to babies. Under federal regulations, section 6.1 of each package insert needs to summarize the clinical trial relied upon to license that product vis-a-vis safety. Okay? And so if you will take a look and read together what it says. In 3 clinical studies, 434 doses of a Combavax HB 5 micrograms were administered to 147 healthy infants and children up to 10 years of age who were monitored for 5 days after each dose. That is the clinical trial relied upon to license this product before it was injected into millions of babies in this country, or licensed to be injected in millions of babies in this country. It has no control, so that alone makes it pretty useless to determining safety. Even if it had a control, it was still useless to determining safety because it only monitors safety for 5 days after injection. And even if it had a placebo control and a NERC control, and it monitored safety for years, it was still useless because it was underpowered. It only had 147 kids. Useless to assess safety. And I'm not trying to be, I'm just trying to be technical about it. As a matter of fact, if I wanted to assess this product was safe, I could not do so from this data. I could maybe assess the, surface B antigens to see if it created efficacy to some degree, right? But I could not assess safety. And by the way, this is the first recombinant DNA technology vaccine ever licensed in America, period. This was a brand new technology. There's nothing to even compare this against. It wasn't even like you had something existing. It's nothing. I didn't believe this, by the way, when I saw it. So on behalf of ICANN, that nonprofit I told you about, we FOIA'd the FDA. We got the underlying clinical trial reports. They're right there. You can click on them, and you can see the full underlying clinical trial reports. That's what it says. I also deposed the principal investigator who conducted this trial, Dr. Stanley Plotkin, and I asked him about this trial. Meaning there's no place to look. This is what it is. I know it seems incredible, but you should click on all those links and watch them and read them yourself, because unless I saw it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it.